deep, way down the left side, way downfield, and it's caught for a touchdown! Touchdown! A marvelous catch! What a catch!
Well, hello. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to check out this video, and welcome to the Gridiron. I saw an article from PFF. I just want to throw a little disclaimer out there. Actually giving the Giants some credit, giving them some props, saying that they have, two of the top, 32. They put out their lists, basically. They put out the top 32, wide receivers, top 32 defensive linemen, top 32 quarterbacks, top 32, cornerbacks, So that's what they did. They put their list out. There's a little, when they put out their top slot cornerbacks, they only went from 1 to 10. But anyway, with the cornerbacks, they did their top 32. And, basically, in a perfect world, that each team would have one on there, out of the 32. But that's not the way it worked out. So, some teams had two. Most teams had one. Some teams didn't have any at all. Like the Cowboys didn't have any. Some of the teams, the Eagles, they had one, surprisingly, Darius Slayton, who they got from Detroit. I think he was number 23. Another guy that caught my eye was the Jackrabbit, Janoris Jenkins. He's catching on with the Tennessee Titans. I believe he's number 27, I believe, after spending the last year and a half or whatever, so with New Orleans. But the interesting thing here is that a lot of the teams that had two, of the top 32 cornerbacks on their team, one, for instance, would be the Rams. Last year they were 11-5. They had two. So they have one of the best defenses. I mean, as far as statistics and all, it's like them, Washington, Pittsburgh. They're kind of right there at the top with all the statistics. The Dolphins, they had two of the top 32 cornerbacks on their team. Last year they were 10-6. They're certainly a team on the rise. The Ravens, they had two. Last year they were 11-5. They're a very good team. Always certainly capable, especially the healthy Lamar Jackson, of making a Super Bowl run. The Bucks, they had two, and we know what the Bucks did last year. They won the whole thing. The Washington football team, they had two as well. Now, they didn't have a winning record, but they did win the NFC East, and certainly have one of the best defenses in all football. And if they can get their offense going, they'll be a threat. They're gonna, they could possibly win the NFC East again, go to the playoffs, maybe make a run at it. But I mean, they have a phenomenal defense, and they have two of the top 32. Next one I want to bring up, obviously, is the Giants. We know they have a good defense, but they have two of the top 32. But that didn't include last year. Last year we had James Bradberry, who was the number 5 according to PFF. Okay, number 5. And opposite of him last year we had a revolving door. We had 4 guys just revolving in there. Corey Ballantyne, Isaac Yiadom, Julian, Love, but then now this year we got Dory Jackson. And he's number 12. So according to PFF, we have number 5 and number 12 cornerback. Very impressive. There's one other team, that had higher cornerbacks than us. There was the Ravens. They had 2 in the top 10. All right, they had Marlon Humphrey, who was number 3, and then they had Marcus Peters, who was number 10. So they're the only team that had 2 ahead of us. Other than that, we had 5 and 12, and nobody was better than us. But obviously, numbers are one thing. Production on the field is something else. The other team I want to talk about is the New England Patriots. They had 2. All right. Now last year, they didn't even have a winning record. Their offense was pretty brutal to look at sometimes. I mean, there was times I got this NFL Sunday ticket, and I'm just watching. I try to keep an eye on as many games as I can, and I remember sometimes like going in at halftime. I mean, like Cam Newton would have like 40 yards passing. At the end of the game, he might have like 90-something yards pass. I mean, it was tough to watch. I mean, if they, to go from like a Tom Brady offense to what they had last year, well, it was tough to watch. But I mean, if they can get their off, I mean, they did get some wide receivers. They did get some help on the offense this year, so they certainly could be a much improved team. And of course, Bill Belichick is certainly there. But my point is that they have 2 of the top 32 cornerbacks, and that's been their way of doing, their defense for quite some time. Coverage starts with the secondary. Good, solid coverage. They don't need, and they haven't had, for the most part, especially when they won their Super Bowls, a double-digit sack guy. They have not had a double-digit sack guy when they've won their Super Bowl. They pride themselves in coverage. So a lot of times when they do get sacks, they're coverage sacks. But their defense starts in the secondary, and then then it works toward the defensive line. So for them to have 2, just goes to show you. I mean, Bill Belichick, he's still holding true to form. He's got solid secondary. Now, the highest sack total that the New England Patriots had when they won their 6 Super Bowls was 9.5. Okay, that happened 2 times. Willie McGinnis in 2004 had 9.5 sacks, and Mike Vrabel had 9.5 sacks in 2003. The other 4 times that they won the Super Bowl, the leading sack guy had, one year he had 7, the next year they had 7, the next year the leading sack guy had 7.5, and the next year their leading sack guy had 8. So when they won the Super Bowl, they had Bill Belichick, they had Tom Brady, no arguments here. But they rely on coverage, not on, a Lawrence Taylor getting 20 sacks from the edge. Right? They don't need that. It's a lot of sack by committee. So that's kind of like what the Giants have. So for us to have good secondary coverage and possibly sacks by committee, that follows right along the New England Patriots, their way of doing things. Now, so because we had James Bradbury last year, his coverage grade, was really good. It was 79.9. It was Pro Football Focus. Okay, just kind of hoping, all right, that he doesn't have like a Jackrabbit Janoris Jenkins kind of fall off, because Janoris Jenkins in 2016, the first year he was with us, his coverage grade was an 83.2. I mean, he was really good. Really good. And then the next year went from 83.2 down to like a 69.6. So it took a, all right, and then we kind of know, like his attitude kind of started going. So, and then Dave going, see you later, buddy. We don't need you on this team. But hopefully James Bradbury, if he doesn't even do exactly what he did last year, can do kind of close to it, hopefully. He's only 27. He's right in the prime. Unfortunately, we only have him for 2 more years. So if he can stay true to form, boy, these next 2 years can be really, really special for him. Now, he gave up 3 touchdowns last year. 2 of them were the first week of the season. All right. But the second week of the season, all right, against when we played Chicago, okay, was one of his best games. He went up against Allen Robinson, who had 1 catch for 14 yards. Right? James Bradbury had 3 pass breakups, and he had 1 interception in that game. He was huge in that game. The other game, they had James Bradley had one other game he gave up a touchdown. So in 2 games last year, he gave up touchdowns. The rest of the other 14 games, didn't give up a touchdown at all. Now, it's kind of funny because he being drafted by Carolina, he was drafted by Dave Gettleman in the 2nd round. I don't know if it's something about Bulldogs or what it is. Recent years, Dave Gettleman's been drafting Georgia Bulldogs, but back in 2016, when James Bradbury was drafted in the 2nd round, he was drafted from the Sanford Bulldogs. So I don't know what it is with Bulldogs and Dave Gettleman, but he's got something for Bulldogs. But usually when he drafts a Bulldog, he's right. And to draft James Bradbury from Sanford in the 2nd round, it was like pick 36, I think, something like that. I mean, that was a good pick. That was a really, really good pick. Now, last year, I said he had 2 games. Again, I think it was the Pittsburgh game and the one against DJ Metcalf against Seattle. He gave up over 50 yards receiving the game. But the other 14 games, he didn't give up. He didn't give up 50 yards. He gave up less than 50 yards in every game. So he had I can't even say he had 2 bad. I mean, the one game, he gave up like 70 yards, I think, against the Steelers, but the problem was he gave up the 2 touchdowns. That's what really hurt. But other than that, he had a phenomenal, and that was the first game of the season. The rest of the season, he had a phenomenal year. Absolutely phenomenal. So hopefully, if he can get close to what he was doing last year, we'll be pretty special. And then that leads us to Dory Jackson. Now, obviously, he was hurt last year. He only played the last 3 games of the season, 3 or 4, and then he played in the wild card game. So the first game of the season, that he did play, he performed very, very well. But then after the last 3 or 4 games, his numbers kind of fell down a little bit. But other than that, he's very special. He's only 25 years old, 1st round pick. Man. And then, obviously, since 2017, he's forced more incomplete passes than he's had against him on passes that's gone 20 yards or more down the field. He's forced 18 incomplete passes on pass plays of 20 yards or more down the field. He's only allowed 14 completions since 2017. So he's very, very stingy on the long passes. Now, he doesn't get a lot of interception. I think he's only had 2 in his whole career, and those 2 came in 1 year. So, but he's going to be very, very good, very, very good. So don't expect a lot of interceptions from him. But his first year, his rookie year, he coverage grade by PFF was a 75.2. His 2nd year, his coverage grade was a 69, so it went down a little bit. But his 3rd year, his last full season that he played, his coverage grade was an 82.5. Absolutely phenomenal. And then also, you'll notice his the amount of targets every year kept going down. His rookie year, because you got a rookie, right, you're going to pick on him. Well, the ball was thrown his way 120 times. 2018, his 2nd year in the league, the ball was thrown in his direction 105 times. In his 3rd year in the league, 2019, he started getting better, and better. The ball was only thrown his way 63 times. So basically, if you look at that over the course of a 16-game schedule, the ball was thrown his way 4 times a game. So basically, once every quarter, the opposing team tried to throw a ball his way. So his stats are holding up. He's doing a very, very good job. Hopefully, he can stay healthy. Because if he can stay healthy, if James Bradbury can perform close to what he did last year. I don't mean take a big drop off, but perform what he did last year or close to it. And if Adoree Jackson can perform the way he was in the past and stay healthy, man, I'll tell you what, we can have a phenomenal defense. And if our offense can kick it into gear, this could be a very special season for the New York Giants. Well, as always, people, thank you so much for taking time any day to check out this video. You guys stay safe out there, and go Giants! Woo!